Okay. We should be out of ads now. Right. We should be. Hang on. Music. Hush, Child of Darkness. Okay, so hey, everybody. Welcome to the EK stream that I've been planning for like almost like 2 months, like prior than any other thing, by the way. You understand that Chemical Singer I actually have fully planned out, and Dark Diviner I have it fully planned out. But EK stuff like drastically goes up and down right now, purely because EK's update has yet to happen, and because Renovation 4 happened as well. I don't think you understand how much I need to keep constantly changing this thing like over and over. Like there's some things I say is untitled as well up here because I just need to make them like legitimately 3 weeks ago, and then I need to constantly update them. That's how much EK just drastically keeps changing. It's really annoying. But yeah, we're here now. You guys should be out of the ads. Welcome, welcome. So yeah, today we're gonna be teaching EK. We're gonna be teaching about like the early game to mid game to late game, and like what's the most efficient way to like get your upgrades in, and like the pathways you totally should go to. This guide, as of this moment, will be kind of going back and forth on some subjects purely because EK is one of those like EK is one of those arcanas. It really depends on your playstyle. It really does. EK is probably the most versatile arcana there is compared to any other arcana. Next to it is Harmonic Saint, which is probably the most versatile for how many options it has available for you. But let's get on to it. Let's get to the first part of it, which is the pros and cons of EK. And I'm gonna be honest with you, there is a lot more cons than pros that EK has. So let's get to it. So the biggest pros that EK has is that it's really fast, it's really jumpy, and it has amazing movement. It is the best Arcana that has the best movement. You can legitimately be on one side of the map and go to the other side of the map within matters of seconds. Uh, what's up, Abby? Your 5% crit damage that happens in Link 4 or Link 3, sorry, happens to ow, happens to any talent that you use. It doesn't matter which one you use, by the way. You can use this with archery, you can use this with your magic, you can use this with puppetry, you can use it with guns. It will provide that 5% extra crit damage to all things. So keep that in mind. The biggest con that EK has is that there's no ruin weapon for it. So it kind of falls behind drastically when it comes to the DPS and damage per minutes. There's a bunch of pre-buffs that need to happen for EK for it to be really strong. There's a lot of setups, and when I mean a lot of setups, I will talk about it once we talk about more into late game to early end game, because there is a lot of paths that you definitely could take depending on which style do you want. Yes, I know for yes, there's a lot of weapon choices. There's way too many choices for a lot of people, and I mean this. There's a lot of choices. There's a lot of weapons that are available to you as EK. It's just some weapons are not treated the same as like others. You're not really tanky. I know a lot of people are gonna be like, "What do you mean I'm not tanky?" You're just not tanky, bro. I'm sorry. Only giants have fun with EK. I'm not gonna lie, because giants do tend to have like the most out of EK. They also build EK a lot easier than humans and elves. Uh, elves, elves will suffer when doing EK. By the way, EK struggles when it comes to healing. There's just not a lot of things that do like multiple hits, so your Fate Weaver doesn't heal you as much. There's just a lot of things that EK doesn't have that other Arcanas have. That's kind of the biggest weakness of it. Is that it just doesn't have a lot of like sustainability. It doesn't have enough tankiness. It doesn't have enough like damage output as well. It just falls drastically inside its verse. It's it's like utility based as well. It just loses out versus a lot of other Arcanas. Its movement, however, is really beautiful, and you should take advantage of it. It is a really fun Arcana as well, and it is one of the things that a lot of people do hope for the game to be reached into and always wanted it to be inside the game in the first place. By the way, we're going to be doing this Wheel of Doom like at the end of this teaching things. If anything, I probably turn that off for now. Mostly because um I don't want to like do the spin and it's like something like desummon your pet, especially when I don't have a pet out right now. Ah, no, stop it. Where is it? Hang on, let me turn that off real fast. There it is. All right, it's been turned off for now. I would just refund Purdue for the Wheel of Doom for now. There you go, brother. Now you got your points back. But yeah, we would do the Wheel of Doom like later on. So pretty much the pros and cons, and then I will talk about the races. So here's the races when it comes to it. Giants do get to wield their two-handed sword with one hand. Axes have really high max for giants, even for humans and elves, but giants can ultimately utilize them because of full swinging. And they can also use a shield when they're using two-handed weaponry, such as a two-handed sword. This is actually something that we will be talking about here pretty soon. They can also spam windmill pretty easily. Like Rados just absolutely just spams. EK goes win, yeah. Humans have the ability to final hit. It's a lot better than Final Strike because Final Hit actually has some form of like heavy standard that Final Strike does not have. They can hold two-handed swords, but they can't hold two-handed swords with shields. Keep that in mind. So they do have piercing, they do have the damage, but they have less damage than giants. And you can assess your own damage. That's like the biggest advantage that humans have over giants is that they can assess their own damage. They can actually constantly have their SS up as well, while giants need to rely on someone else for them, especially when it comes to boss fights. Humans can also brio stuff a lot faster than giants. Giants need to rely on like their like wind guard, but that's pretty much the biggest advantage that humans have over giants, to be honest with you. And then elves, I'm gonna be honest with you, there's really nothing that elves really get out of this. I did put some stuff, which is just use your bow. Blazing Assault is your movement. That's a really nice axe, bro, you got there. It doesn't have piercing for most of them, besides the Nightbringer Berserker, which is, Nightbringer weapon. I don't know. There's a lot of investment that Elf needs to do before EK like melee DPS itself becomes like viable. Just use your bow for the extra 5% crit damage. There's absolutely no other reason why to use EK as an elf besides just for movement. I'm sorry. You elves kind of have it like the worst out of all the EKs. And it's the honest truth out of it. All right. So, early game for pretty much giants and humans and elves is that you're going to be focusing with Blanid. You're going to be focusing early game with like tech missions, with tech normal versions. You're rebirthing as much and forgetful. A bunch of dungeons, above vent dungeons. Renown's important. Red upgrade is always going to be your choice. Stardust would be something passive. Totems would be passive. Spirit ego is actually semi not important for EKs. It's really nice to have. Don't get me wrong. The ultimate is really nice to have for a bunch of trash mobs. But if you're like focusing more on like bosses or like focusing on like, purification missions or like just focusing on just a lot of damage, it's kind of more of like the meh kind of ultimate. Uh, Moldarines and Frostwrights are as it isn't really important for EK as well as most of the EK buffs that happen only really drastically happens at Link 9 for the EK cooldowns. No 100% squared before Bladden? Fake news. What is this? Oh, you mean squiring? No, there's a reason why. But yeah, most of the links don't really usually happens before and now it's 3 squires maxed out before Blinded. That's the thing that I want to get into when it comes to gear, because Blinded is actually really overpowered for EK, and Blinded does actually try to tend like really. Blinded really likes to give a lot of stuff for EK, by the way. So let me go talk about the gear and why you're not going to be really worrying about squires that much. To be honest with you, I don't think I actually introduced squires in any of these like Arcana things like at all. That is toxic. I prefer to go at hill start. Get out of here. So, Bladed is really overpowered because the first set that Bladed gives you when you complete Generation 1, right? You don't even need to complete Generation 1. This is like legitimately a quarter into Generation 1. Is that she provides you this Crux armor. This Crux armor is insane, by the way. It is ridiculously good. So obviously Bladed gives you the sword. You also get a fluted short sword. If you're human, you can duel with it. As a giant, you will also get this and the shield, but because of the Ellie is just better for Bladed, especially for giants. Giants will take advantage of both their shield and their Bladed sword. Since giants can't do wield swords, only humans can. They can do wield maces, but there's no maces provided to you inside Bladed. Besides the random ones with. Not sure why she gives it to you, to be honest with you. Really weird that they do. Just a normal ordinary mace, you know? But yeah, for a giant, you don't really need to worry about like anything, to be honest. You just put on the memory blade, use the shield. For humans, you use your memory blade with the fluted sword with dual wielding. And for elves, you just have this sword. I'm gonna be honest, just don't bother with it. Just use it only for blazing assault and just use your memory crossbow to deal damage. But I want a human mace. Too bad. Later on inside Generation 1, once you complete like the first quarter of it, when you find out what turn along is, Blinded will provide you this Crux armor. This Crux armor, each piece provides 3 a smash and 3 durability loss. That's right. It has a smash enhancement and 3 durability loss enhancement. This thing is going to be your best friend for the longest time. And I know a lot of you are going to say this is that it's not enchanted and it's not reforged. And that is true. This armor originally, right? It has Encore Champion, right? But here's the thing. You can stick Champion on it for free. And you can stick Encore onto it for free. Well, even though it's not clothing, it's actually armor. Well, Encore can go on it, but if you really want to, instead of Encore, you could put Sieving on it or like stabbing on it instead. You could also put in like random like camo, like wild boar. Same thing with gloves, wild boar camo. And then on hat, you could just get like some random junk like dexterity on it. Like everything about it is really cheap, and you can break it all because if you break it and you destroy it, you could just repeat that quest and it will provide you a new set just like that. It's really overpowered. It's really nice. It's really cool. And I wish a lot of people talked about it more. By the way, they don't talk about this armor set at all inside a wiki. Like nothing about it at all. Like there's absolutely no information about it for some reason. And I have not a clue why. Like it just has like this, right? It doesn't even explain its enhancement. It doesn't have it inside its own like section of like set or anything like that. It just doesn't make any sense. Wait, how do you get this? You actually just do Generation 1. The Land of the Eternal turn on Og. It's legitimately just the first quarter of the quest in Generation 1. And you can keep getting this armor constantly over and over. It's actually really nice. I don't know why people don't talk about it at all. It's ridiculously great. Look, check it out. This thing provides smash enhancement +3 and decreased durability by 3. It's great. It's really cool. I don't know why people don't talk about it though. It's basically your best armor set for like the longest time. It's really good. And you just get it from doing Generation 1. Yeah, you use it for sheep shearing, you use it for like skilling, you use it for mining. It's really good. It's really fantastic. This armor set is honestly something that I always kept. Look it out. Even in my game, right? Inside my remote bank, right? See, I still have it. It's just that good. It's ridiculously good. I don't know why anyone would ever destroy this stuff. It's just too good for what it is. I don't know anyone that casually thinks, "Hey, I'm just gonna destroy this." Like what? Yeah, I think a lot of people say to just throw it away, which I completely disagree. I It's okay though, since you can always get the set for free from just repeating G1. I hope people don't throw this away. You really don't need to. It's really good for what it is. The enhanced durability on it is really fantastic. It fixes everything that you have. You can go mining with it. You can go hill mining with it. It has 2 protection on it and 8 defense on the body. It has like one protection there, and another protection. So in total, you have over like 5 protection with this armor set, which is honestly more than enough for early game. To be honest with you, I'm pretty I'm 100% sure you can honestly run this until you hit like tech hard missions, and honestly, then it wouldn't be that bad. To be honest with you, because it's enchantable, it's reforgeable as well. Honestly, it's really good. It's really nice to have. It's nice to have. It's really good. I can't imagine anyone wanting to just throw it out. But yeah, just don't listen to anybody that says, "Hey, just chalk it. Don't even bother with it." Don't do that. It's really nice. It's a really nice quality of life armor. Your next upgrade, of course, is that your biggest upgrade will be getting for free. Actually, it's free. It's the two-handed sword, the Celtic two-handed sword that you can get from Chronicles. At this point of the game, you are right now considered inside mid-game right now, right? Your average amount of gold at this point of the game will be like around 10 mil. Celtic two-handed sword is for free if you do the Chronicles. It's actually really easy to get. It's for free. You might as well just have it and have fun with it. I just throw it naked plus bear robe is the only way to go. Get out of here, you still have the armor set. I think at this point of the game, you already have it already enchanted too. You have Sieving Champion on it. Those are free enchants. You have Camo Wild Boar on both your boots and gloves, and then you have Wild Boar Dexterity on your hats. All of that is like a below 100k. I think at most, the most expensive enchant you can have is the body, which is 200k for Sieving. That's like the cheapest thing that you can get, and all of that altogether can get you around like 50 max, just like that. Your accessories will look pretty janky, I won't lie. You can always stick a wild boar on this, and that's gonna be pretty much your best one. Or if you really, really want to like commit to it, because they do this for free for you as well, is that you can just go to the dungeon guide and just go to the 4th voucher shop, right? And just simply just buy the accessory that they sell to you in here. It has both Oblivion and Swarming on it, and it legitimately costs 10 vouchers. If you really want that extra legitimately for 14 more max, there you go. You can buy as many of these as you like. They don't have any reforges on them. They're really great. They're really helpful. Really nice to have. I wish a lot of people use these a lot more. I'm not gonna lie. Ah, get out of here. Sweet cheers for this helpful info. No worries, brother. All right, so since you're inside mid game, right? You're already doing your chronicles. You have like 10 mil to your lit name. Your next biggest like big goal here, your next big jump actually, from being inside this mid game, you're doing some like tech missions and you're getting into late game, right? Is that the biggest upgrade you can do personally, right? Is either buy Korib. Korib is a 30 mil enchant, or you can get it from the Chronicles. It is a pretty uncommon drop. I have gotten it twice already. It's pretty uncommon. I have yet to get it on my alt. However, I got something else that was as common as it, so it is pretty uncommon to get it. Or you can keep saving up for about 80 mil and upgrade to a Perseus sword. Both of them are honestly really good choices to do. If you really want to keep saving up, the Perseus two-handed sword is totally worth it. Putting Korib on this sword is totally worth it. There's absolutely no reason for you to go for the Divine Blade. Please, whatever you do, don't get the Divine Blade. Just ignore it. It is a beautiful blade. It looks so nice, but don't get it for damage or like utility or anything like that. It's just not really good. There is an argument with the Frosted Borealis sword, but it's not really that helpful for anyone that's a jump. I'm gonna be honest with you, you'd be pretty much sticking to the Celtic two-handed sword for the longest time with Korb on it, or upgrading to the Perseus two-handed sword. The best thing about Korb and this free two-handed sword, by the way, is that you don't need anyone to blacksmith it for you, and you can protect the enchant as well, and brick the Celtic two-handed sword right, and just destroy it if it ever bricks. You don't need to rely on enchant protections. That's what makes Corb so overpowered at this point of the game, because you could destroy the two-handed sword that you get for free, get another two-handed sword for free, and then brick that and just repeat the process until you finally stick Corb on it. And the best part about it, right, is that if you ever want to remove Corb, you can just burn it off. That's why I think Chronicles is so nice for mid game players. It is ridiculously friendly for them. And I wish it wasn't a weekly limit thing. They really need to take out that weekly limit thing because it is not fun and not that useful, let alone even that helpful for any mid game player. It's honestly kind of more of a nuisance than anything. But if you really want to, you can also save up the extra like 60 mil just to go for the Perseus 200 sword. And at this point of the game as well, as a giant, right, your next goal is getting a cooking pot with max damage on it because that'll be the bigger upgrade instead of looking for armor. I'm gonna be honest with you, your armor upgrades won't really matter too much until you're entering into early end game, because early end game is when a lot of stuff starts to drastically change. Okay, what I mean drastically change for EK is that I'm talking about like refined Majestic Knight armor. I'm talking Sienna Bliana armor. I'm talking about like min maxing, like mix maxing, not min maxing, mix matching like armor sets to get the full advantage of getting every single thing, such as getting smash gloves, windmill gloves, assault slash gloves, a lot more protection, a lot more defense. It's a lot of stuff to talk about. It's a lot of set effects. It's a lot of like sets to look into, and it's definitely something you should look into, and definitely something that you will definitely change your play style on. But as of this moment, since you're just barely in the mid game and turning into the late game, it's something that you should not really focus on too much. If anything, what you should really focus on more is really on your more passive things, such as getting your smolderings, just casually, doing your techs casually, doing your like dungeons for gems for your spirit, and doing your renown pretty casually. This at this point of EK, it's probably the most casual, it's probably the most fun as well you're going to have until you start mix matching a lot of gear. Because mix matching gear is probably going to cost a lot more than your two-handed swords altogether. And trust me when I say this, the two-handed sword upgrade is so much far better. And I'm gonna be honest with you, there is an honest argument that you're going to be keeping this armor even if you have a Nightbringer sword. I'm not gonna lie, this armor is really good, but you will start to die a lot pretty commonly with this armor. I'm just warning you now. But just don't get hit, right? Okay, so let's talk about the skills. Let's talk about the instills first before anything else, as they are passive buffs. Each one does need to be activated inside their own separate times. By the way, this part of the section of the guide will be outdated pretty soon once the new EK update happens, which is prior to like within the next 3 months, I believe. This month is Generation 26 Part 1. Next month will be Generation 26 Part 2. Actually, that's a lie. I think the next month it's a Moonlight Island updates, and the month after that is the G26 Part 2, something like that. I don't know why they're doing it in separate updates, but. Okay, so let's talk about the more like ones first. We have the flaming one. This actually is not that bad, to be honest with you. The flaming one increases your AoE with normal attacks. It also increases attacks on some of them, such as like smash, final hits. Your blazing assault also gets extra meters on it depending on what level you are inside the link. It actually can drastically change it depending on what link you are. It's actually really nice. It's kind of convenient. It does increase your damage when it comes to blazing assault specifically. The damage increase on it by itself isn't really worth it if you're gonna just stick to install lightning, but I will talk about it some more. Install frost is that it has the ability to allow you to cast ice magic and stuff, similar to like the fire one, where you have the chance to cast fire stuff. Increases your ice windmill range. It also helps out, increase its damage. Its auto attacks have the ability to slow down enemies. I'm gonna be honest with you, the slowdown ability that has, I believe at most, can do only 20% slowdown, and it's not really noticeable. It's kind of hard to see at times. It's really hard to like test it at times as well. It's because a lot of things do die to it just casually. A lot of things kind of ignore it too, is the thing. A good example is crawl mobs and snugglies inside Glenburna completely ignore this effect for some odd reason. If you're gonna freeze stuff or slow down things, just use some ice elements and use elemental attunement technique, passive page. That slowdown is up to 60% and it's really noticeable. This one doesn't really do much and it can be ignored. Not sure why though. Not really sure why. All right, and then Lightning and Cell. Lightning and Cell provides more max damage. It also provides some damage of negative. It does ignore some defensive protection with its auto attacks. Keep in mind, this is only for auto attacks. So what I mean by that is that only your normal attacks will do the defense protection, not your skills. So keep that in mind. Lightning Assault also allows you to also just use more damage. It also allows you to cast lightning skills as well. I believe it's all skills, not just auto attacks. Now, lightning itself is just only auto attacks. Yeah, the description was inaccurate, but the install itself for lightning is only auto attacks. They corrected it. Even says it inside its little description. Enables normal attacks to ignore 20 defense and 10 protection. Before, it didn't have this enables normal attack. It just said ignore 20 defense, 10 protection. That's it. So they fixed that description there. This is also true when it comes to its ice as well, where it reduces the normal attacks, reduces the target's movement speed by 30%, and attack speed by 50%. I'm gonna be honest, I have never seen this attack speed ever be used like at all, to be honest with you. And I thought the movement speed was 20%. I'm not gonna lie. I guess it's 30%. But yeah, no, it's only with normal attacks. These all three of these, where the normal attack, it's the attack cleave of normal attack gets affected. The thing is, right, is that you would think that final hits will affect these, but they don't at all for some reason. Not sure why they would do this. Yeah, no, this is just an update for the text that actually says that it's only 4 auto attacks. It wasn't supposed to be ignoring 20 defense and 10 protection on skills. That's what the update was, Kratos. It's not supposed to do the negative 20 defense and 10 protection like normal. That was the whole update. It was correcting that it has to be auto attacks. It wasn't supposed to affect the skills at all. That's the whole reason for the EK update, like later on inside the EK update, right? Where they're actually going to focus on it and apply more damage and allow you to have all instills on at the same time. But that's a whole different story, and I will talk about that once it gets fully released. But right now, only the auto attacks get affected by this, and that's what it's about. Before, it used to not say the auto attacks like at all for some odd reason. So a lot of people thought it was doing this extra one piercing with all the skills, but that wasn't true at all. People found out about that and they fixed the description saying, hey, it has to be auto attacks. So it was always only auto attacks that was supposed to affect. It was never this or this or this. It confused a lot of people, but I'm glad they finally fixed it. But yeah, that was the whole reason for that description. That was the whole reason for fixing it. Place. Ignore that. Okay, so instills are really cool. They're really nice. They're fun to play around with. The thing is, Lightning provides more max over the other two. They're really nice. Don't get me wrong. It's just you can only have one activated at the time. With the EK update coming out within 3 months here, they allow you to have all three of them to be activated. Just be warned, they do kill your mana and stamina like pretty drastically though. So just keep that in mind. These do drain your mana as of this moment right now until the new EK update where it starts draining your mana and stamina. And they do drain it pretty significantly. Not as crazy as before. I know probably a few people remember that gif of like mana and stamina just dying instantly, but it's not that drastic. It's noticeable but not drastic. But yeah, salamander pool in still pretty much. Oh man, when I saw that for the first time, I was like, holy shit, you might as well just not play, okay? Also, I'm gonna be honest with you, don't tell hang on. Let me just mute the music real fast. I'm gonna be really honest with you. I absolutely hate the fact the only way you can have three of the installs to be activated is at Link. I'm gonna be really honest with you. The EK update did not fix the issue that EK has. That is absolutely like, what is this? The EK update absolutely does not. It increased its damage output just to be equal with Alchemical Stinger without the Nightbringer bow with the Nightbringer like arrow. It basically has the same amount of damage crossbow with a normal bolt, right? And that's pretty much it. But like it really does not solve the main issue of it, which is like it's like it just doesn't have any utility on it. And if it doesn't have any utility on it, they might as well go on full on give it more damage. But they didn't do that too. And they really didn't give it a lot of quality of life things. Instead, almost everything about it didn't really change at all drastically. And that kind of sucks. I'm not gonna lie. Like it's really nice to have all the installs on, but why in God's heaven do I need to be Link 9 to have that? Excuse me? You mean everything before Link 9, it's gonna feel like shit? I don't know, man. I don't like that at all. They really need to focus on EK a lot more there. And you can totally tell they were focused more on harmonics say on that update, but that's not the whole point of this guide. I'm sorry. I just need to say that out loud right now because it's the honest truth about this. Because there's not going to be a lot changing for EK, even with that EK update. There is one part of it that will be changing inside the rotation drastically, but overall, not a lot. Okay, so Dynavolt Smash. Dynavolt Smash. Really cool. Straight line. Lightning from above. Strike the ground. For some reason, whenever you strike the ground, lightning appears above. Why does that make sense? I have not a clue, to be honest with you. No, seriously, I have not a clue why lightning appears from above when you strike it down. It makes no sense. Even the description on it says it strikes the ground, right? Allowing electricity current to go through. But like, from what? From you casting a bolt or something? What exactly allows the lightning strikes from above to come from? If anything, it should be shooting from below, right? Huh? No. Plus, it's the dirt. It's ground. It's grounded. Hey, really weird. Doesn't really explain it too well. Shattering Windmill. Shattering Windmill is probably the only utility you have, and it doesn't really work too well. They are going to be changing it drastically once the EK update happens, where anything that isn't frozen will just get the applied bleed and then damage instant burst at that very moment. They went back and forth with this bleed mechanic with the EK update. We won't really talk about that right now since they really went back and forth on it. For now, though, just know that everything that you're Shattering Windmill with will grab aggro by force, and that your Shattering Windmill will also freeze targets that are freezable, right? And then it will explode. So most of your damage happens when the explosion happens. So keep that in mind. Blazing Assault, I'm gonna be honest with you, Blazing Assault is probably the best thing about EK. everything else about EK, I can honestly just throw away. I'm not gonna lie. Between you and me, Blazing Assault is probably the most fun thing in the world, and I wish the skill was available to everybody because it is just ridiculously really fun to go into something and then just jump out on the other side of the map. Like you can legitimately come from one side of the map, right? Hop onto something, hit it, right? Like bonk it on the head, and then just go away and go behind it so far away. And it's not gonna even think twice. That monster has not a clue what happened to it. It's like, wait, whoa, 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 what just hit me? That's all it really is. I'm sorry. It's a gate closer. It's nice to have. It's really fun for movement. That's all it really is. It's not really one of your main damage dealers. It does a decent amount of damage, but it's definitely not your damage, like your main damage dealer. It's nice to have. And then uh, we have the getaway card, quote unquote. We have Dauntless Defense. It's it's okay. It's pretty good for what it does. That's the thing. It's okay and pretty good for what it does. 9 outs. I will explain into more details about this skill and why I kind of think it's kind of more of a trap than anything else, especially for elves and humans alike. Giants honestly can take a full advantage of this thing, by the way, like completely take a full advantage of it. They once they did that defense rework, this thing became really overpowered for giants. It's really nice, it's really overpowered for them. But for humans and elves alike, it's probably the biggest trap in the world. All right, so let's get into the debuff rotation when it comes to EK. Of course, it's gonna be like any other like debuff rotations, right? You're going to be fading an enemy first, and then fading yourself. You get a Brio it with Windguard or with Final Hit as fast as possible. If you're an elf, you're not gonna Brio it, bro. Just allow someone else to do it. Don't do it, man. Just get ready for your next debuff. Different is the next one inside the priority list. Fantastic Chorus is always nice to have to place down, to slow down enemies so you can catch up to them so they don't go way too far. So you don't need to use too many resources to try to catch up to them. I strongly recommend Uppercut over Smoke Bomb on this situation purely because Uppercut, Charging Strike Uppercut can close distances. It can also close gaps as well pretty drastically. Smoke Bomb is nice if you know something is a little bit further or there's a lot of them inside a group. But I strongly recommend more of Charging Strike and Uppercut overall, just because of it can close gaps, it can do it, it can last longer. It's more of a focus than anything. Having both of them is always nice to have as well. It's just which one you want to prioritize more. It's definitely more for Charging Strike Uppercut than really Smoke Bomb. I strongly recommend Smoke Bomb a lot more for like larger groups than anything else as an EK. So just keep that in mind. The end lag on smoke screen as well kind of like ruins your rotation a lot. So just keep that in mind. The glyphs you're going to be using as a EK player isn't going to be the -10 defense and protection, to be frank, the floor one. The one you're going to be using mostly is like Smash, Bash, Windmill glyphs, to be honest with you. The Smash one is ridiculously nice because thanks to the new Renovation 4, Smash has like this really like absolutely no like animation, so you could just keep smashing ridiculously. It's really nice. It's actually really powerful. It's also an indirect buff to Dynavolt Smash. And then Bash I will talk about more in detail a lot more here soon, so keep that in mind. Bash is just really strong now. It's an excellent gate closer. It deals damage and it gives you extra damage over time. It's really nice. And then the Winimo Glyph just helps out with your Shattering damage. Both Dynavolt Smash and Shattering Windmill will basically be your most damage dealer by the EK rotation. Right. Let's get into the EK rotations. All right. Before I'll talk about like pets and how annoying having a cat circle is. You have the cat circle down and you're like, yes, I'm using my cat circle. Then next thing you know, the enemy just teleports away like a wraith outside of your circle. And you kind of just stare at it and you're like, well, I guess I'm out of my cat circle now. Crying. All right. Rotation for EK. All right. So what we got here is that we're going to Blazing Assault inside. If the target is really far away, keep that in mind. If the target is not far away, you don't need to Blazing Assault. Just honestly, just going for the bash, Raging Pack. As a human, you're going to support after your Raging Pack the Dynavolt Smash. As a giant, you're just going to Raging Pack into Dynavolt Smash. This is pretty much just going to be your most damage at this very moment, right? Because the bash will provide the 2% extra damage right there. On top of Rage Impact, that will just stay on it. And then your Dynavolt Smash. You will be using Bash within these weaves. That's right, you heard me. Weaves. You're going to use Bash pretty commonly between weaves. You're going to also be using Smash in between weaves. So just keep that in mind. That's something for later on. This is the most simplistic way to show this rotation. Once we talk about like end game to early late game, this rotation will drastically change. I'm gonna warn you that now. This rotation that you're seeing right now is gonna drastically change once you get into the early late game. You're going to start weaving in stuff, and it's gonna be becoming more of a ping def than anything else. So keep that in mind. But for right now, this is the most simplest rotation you can do. This is like the most common one you can do. This one's like the easiest one that you can do at any boss, at any time, at any point of any fight. You can honestly gap close with using Blazing Assault, using Bash first, Raging Pack to SS as a human, or just Raging Pack, and Dynavolt Smash, then Bash to Shattering Windmill, and to Bash into Smash, and to Bash into Raging Pack once again, and SS to upkeep it, and to Dynavolt Smash. Keep in mind that this Raging Pack and Support Shot and this Smash and Bash will soon become weaves instead for other guides. It will drastically change how much you're going to be doing. You will start using Blazing Assault as a normal DPS rotation thing later on. But for now, your most damage dealers are going to be your Dynavolt Smash and Shattering Windmill. Keeping up Bash with its damage multiplier on it up to the maximum of 10% is really important to upkeep this damage over time. All right? Because if you don't have your Bash increasing your damage at all, that's legitimately losing about approximately 1% up to 2% damage over time within a damage per second meter and a damage per minute. So keep that in mind. Bash will be your best friend for the longest time. You're going to constantly needing to weave it in for a lot of things in the future. This also is an introduction for Raging Pack and Support Shot. Just keep that in mind. Both of these are both really useful and really helpful, especially before any Dynavolt Smash. But just get ready for anything in the future because this is the most simplest one I can make without any erg, without any like links. This is the most simplest one I can make. Believe me, once we get to link 9 and erg 50, this entire thing is gonna completely swap. And don't get me started on Rage Impact Echo Stone because brother, oh man, oh no. This is like the most minimal thing you can do right now is EK, okay? This is it right here. Anything that includes like ERC 50 drastically changes everything here. Anything that's at Link 9 would drastically change here as well. And anything that's with Echo Stone, like cooldown on Raging Pack, would drastically change where this Raging Pack goes. It's the fact that you just need to keep in mind that Bash, Smash, Raging Pack will become weaves in the future. So just get ready for that. Trust me, it's gonna be a lot of rotations, and depending on what weapon you use, it would just drastically change what rotation you're going to be doing as well. So just keep that in mind, man. Just keep that in mind. Because the biggest difference when it comes to the rotation really depends on Smash itself, especially when it comes to the weapon. So just keep that in mind. Alright, so let's talk about the special modified things such as evasion, defense, wind guard, and charge. Let's talk about these like little like comment tips things that people can honestly use. You know, they will talk about it. I'm gonna be really honest with you. Evasion's just not good. I have seen too many people use the thing, try to dodge something or like to move out of something or just simply just move a little bit. I'm gonna be really honest with you. If you can just casually walk out of it, you don't need to evasion. You have exactly, if anything, evasion is more of a hinder, humans and elves, than being an advantage. It is, however, actually really noticeable for giants because giants do move 1 extra meter than any other race. And that's the only reason why I think evasion is only viable for giants is because it updates their character at that very moment. It moves their character, it updates the character, and it even places them on the right spot. For elves and humans, you legitimately can just walk out of it, bro. No even evasion. If anything, all you're doing is that you're just setting yourself up just to get hit by whatever it is. A great example is like Urson's beams or circles. I have seen way too many people use evasion and they get hit by it anyways. When they could have just simply just swapped to chain and anchor rushed it. They could have swapped to grapple shot and grapple shot, swapped to guns to grapple shot out of it. They could just simply just even do it on the spot too. They use evasion to try to move out of things. Look, man, don't even do it. Even for giants, this is kind of a mad thing. Because I'm gonna be honest with you, the only time I ever seen the style points, now stop it, you. It's gonna be negative style points because you got hit by the circle. Even for giants, this one's really questionable to use because I think the only time I ever recommend that a giant will use this is just to update the precision, and that's it. And nothing else. If you really want to, that's really the only time you ever would use this. But I'm gonna be honest with you, grapple shot and anchor rush also update where you are. So I have not a clue why people use this skill, to be honest with you. I personally think this thing is like an absolute trap for anybody. But I keep seeing people use it constantly and then they die with it instead of just swapping to a chain or grapple. It just doesn't make any sense. The counter argument for this is that what if those two are on cooldown? Look, man, if those two are on cooldown and you don't have Dorko, right? I'm gonna be honest with you. Just move with bash or charge. I don't know why you want to do evasion. It's so slow too. I don't know, man. It's just not good. I don't know why you want to be in this animation and you can cancel it, right? You can't do anything about it. You have to wait for it to finally like roll and move. I don't know why you want that. It's a complete trap, man. It does make you look cool though. Defense is pretty good. I'm not gonna lie. This is the part where I'm gonna talk about the shields. To be honest with you, because there is something about EK that I do need to talk about shields. And this does evolve Dauntless. So let's go back to Dauntless real fast. I'm gonna be really honest with you. Dauntless can be powerful. Dauntless can deal over 700% damage at fully charged whenever you get hit multiple times, right? It is your basically get off me kind of card, right? When there's like a lot of mobs on you, right? It pushes them back, it deals damage, and it can increase its range while firing still as well. It's actually pretty good. It's really nice. Except, what are you doing here? Get out of here, you. Except, here's the thing. Dauntless only provides some defense and some protection, right? And here's the thing. Here's the main problematic I have with it, right? Is that it gives you play a base defense of plus 15, just like that, right? When you use it, right? Here's the main problematic I have with it. Whenever you use Dauntless defense, it also puts you inside defense form, right? Where you have this plus 20 defense, plus 35 protection. But it doesn't do it all the way. They changed it to being only halfway now. So you only get half of whatever Dan you have. I have Dan 1. But you only get half of what's going on. But the thing is, if you don't have a shield on, you use Dauntless defense, and you do it at Chrom, you're gonna die. No matter what you do. At Chrom, 40% and everything is on you and you Dauntless Defense, you're gonna get hit so many times and take so much damage, like completely unnecessary damage too, that it does not make it worth it at all for any human or elf because it's just so much damage. As a giant, I'm gonna be really honest with you, and I have done the math for this. This fails Great Shield because it's still a large shield, right? And because how to change defense overall with shields, right? It's just so well. It's so good with Dauntless Defense. Even with the changes to shields where they have damage reduction now, with the Frosted Borealis one, even the what's it called, Devastation Shield, they're still better than the Nightbringer Shield whenever you use Dauntless. Purely because Dauntless does its calculations in half. So even if you use a Nightbringer Shield as a giant, it would be better if you just use the Frosted Borealis Shield because it just provides more protection percentage over the Nightbringer Shield, which makes it really bad. But it's so viable as a giant. It's so nice as a giant. It's so great. The only time I can ever see this being viable to a human or an elf is if they use a shield themselves. But that is so much damage gone for having just a shield on for any race. And that's my main problem with Dauntless Defense. Don't get me wrong, Dauntless Defense is an excellent skill. It is a great get off me card. It does decent damage. It's 700% whenever you take enough. If you don't have anything hit you, it's pretty weak. I'm not gonna lie. It's probably like the weakest, weakest damage dealer out of these other three. But it does some form of damage. It can be instant. The main issue with it, it's the same issue with Iron Will, right? Is that you can only take like one or two hits, right? Like Iron Will is meant to not be knocked back, right? If you know something's gonna knock you back, then Iron Will is excellent, right? It's nice. But if you see like a lot of mobs, like an example, like a bunch of rats, like imagine 10 giant rats. Imagine 10 flagship rats, right? All attacking you with Iron Will. What's gonna happen? You're gonna take all the damage. You're gonna constantly take a bunch of hits by tens, right? Constantly. And this is the main issue with it. Is that because you have Iron Will, you don't have any knockback or anything like that. You live, you win. Get out of here. That's the issue though. If you don't have enough defense or protection, even without the shield as a human or elf, you basically are setting yourself up to die. This is the main issue I have with Dauntless Defense and why I have issues with normal defense as well, is that you're pretty much setting yourself to die if you're not prepared for what happens afterwards. Defense is kind of really good for what it does because it does damage reduction, especially with a shield on. Like having a divine shield or anything like that is really helpful, right? And it can be really make a game difference when it comes to that damage reduction. Where is it? There it is. That's not what I want. There it is. Divine Shield now has this damage reduction on it, right? Which is really nice to have. Don't get me wrong. It's really nice to have. As you can see, it's right there. Damage reduction rate of 15%. The highest one is Nightbringer, which is 30%. And the next one that's highest to that is actually one of the tech pages, which is Guardian Impulse, which is 40%. These actually all do stack on top of each other additively. So at most you could have about approximately almost 30% more. But that's the thing. Whenever you're using defense on top of that damage reduction, on top of everything else, it's really nice. It's actually really noticeable. But the thing is, this is only really viable as a giant than really as a human and elf. Because here's the thing, as a human and elf, your only options as a weapon is like an axe, a one-handed axe, a one-handed blunt, a one-handed sword. And I'm gonna be honest with you, out of all the options you have there, none of them are that useful. You know? I think the best one out of all of them, to be honest with you, is the one-handed sword because of its smash enhancement from Erg. And because at least one Nightbringer weapon has piercing, right? That's one-handed sword and the one-handed mace. But that's pretty much all it has going for it, to be frank. But you know, Giants can wield a two-handed sword with a shield, so go crazy, go nuts. Yeah! Also, let me tell you this right now. When it comes to the cooking pot for Giants, because it can get max damage and magic attack on it. By the way, the fact that it has magic attack on it, which can hit up to 20, which is 80 magic attack, you know that affects, mana shield as well, right? Let me just say this right now. Giants are the most optimal race for EK for that main purpose as well. It's the fact they can have over, right, of like 600, almost 700 magic attack while wearing a full set EK gear just for having a cooking pot. You know how much a human can have? It can only have around almost 500, almost hitting 600 magic attack, while giants can casually sit at 700k. I mean 700 magic attack, and almost hit the 800 magic attack casually. That's legitimately almost 20% of levels of protection on mana shield just by having this cooking pot by itself. That's how good this cooking pot is. That's how fantastic this cooking pot is. It's ridiculously nice. All right. All right, Wingard. You can't use EK skills while inside of it, but you can spam other skills that are close combat, like bash, smash, charge, uh, evasion, quote unquote. You can spam them. It's really fun for charge. I'm not gonna lie, charge is like vroom with this thing on. Windguard is really nice. It's really strong. It's probably one of the better things that you can use in the beginning of fights. Like you can honestly just smash, bash, smash, bash, smash, bash, smash, bash until you're 10% full, right? Once you're 10% full with your bash, you don't need to smash anymore. You could just turn off Windguard and just simply just do your normal rotation, just start Raging Packing and Dynavolt Smash. That's what makes Windguard so good. It's really good. It's really nice. Just know that you can't use any of your EK skills while inside of it. So just keep that in mind. Really strong, really nice, very protective, very defensively. Really cool. Wow, so cool. Doesn't need erg. Really nice. And then your other gap closer, which is just charge. You know, I like charge. Charge is really funny. Charge is math, but hang on, let me just mute the music real fast. Charge is the most interesting skill in close combat for multiple. The biggest reason I can tell you right now that charge is really interesting is that its splash damage calculations are completely wrong and completely don't make it. And charge like enhancement makes no sense to charge as well because charge enhancement is supposed to increase its range and damage. However, charge damage itself is dependent on how far you are, just like lance charge. Well, it can also depend on how long you're in charge. If you didn't know, you can charge something and then just use ASD, right, to go back from a target like constantly away from things, right? And I think a lot of people don't really know that. And I think it's like the funniest thing you can do. And I can show you here running on a random raccoon, right? So you could just do this. And if you have a long enough charge, right? Because of charge enhancement and charge boots, you can just constantly be inside charge until you finally know how long your charge is and just bash into them, dealing a lot of damage. And I think it's the funniest thing in the world. And it makes absolutely no sense. Its math makes no sense. Its splash makes no sense. And don't get me started on the reforge on this thing because it makes no sense as well. I'm gonna be honest with you. Charge is probably the most funniest thing and the funnest calculations I have done with myself for almost 3 years straight. And I think it's probably the most stupidest and probably the most funniest and probably the most like excuse me kind of thing. Because if you didn't know, if you have limit broken shoes with charge that are limit broken 4 with minimum charge, right? you can just charge on spot. You can charge anything right up against their face, and you can just spam it. It is really funny. It's ridiculously silly, and I think it's the most fun you can do as an EK. And it's actually pretty decent. That's the worst part about it all. It's actually pretty decent. It does decent amount of damage. It does a decent amount of splash. It's actually pretty decent. It's funny as hell. I think it's cool. And that's why I just put Vroom on it because it's just so silly. Alrighty then. You probably won't see inside the rotation in here for a long time, purely because charge can break at times and it's kind of unreliable for that main reason. But if you have the minimum like range of like the normal one, which is 3, then it's fine, or 4 with limit broke, it's 100% fine. With limit range 3, minimal range, it's about like 80% chance and then 20% of it failing on you. This is mostly for large targets like Data or like Glen Bernabas or Giga Glass or Glass himself. But like for Urson and like smaller targets, it's actually it won't really fail that much. It's mostly like the larger enemies that will fail on pretty common. But you will see charge in here one day, one of these days. It's probably gonna be in such an early late. Okay, so let's talk about last purchase items. And I know a lot of people are gonna question the last bit of it because there is actually a decent amount of like gear inside of here that should be treated as last purchase items. I don't get me wrong, I will talk about them in more depth once we get into the late game, like late game to like early end game and end game, because these last purchase things will be either a make or break kind of situation. Okay, so let's go through the bucket first before any of this other stuff. All right, hang on, let me from these guys because there we go. Okay, so first trap, Elemental Buddy. I'm gonna be honest with you. I don't know why I have gotten this argument a lot more than I expected. I'm gonna be really honest with you. I don't know why. Look, hang on. Why, in God's heaven, are you metering with your two-handed sword with special elemental body on? Stop. Don't don't even answer me. I don't know why you're metering with your sword, where you can just simply just bring out a Celtic staff and deal more damage than a Nightbringer two-handed sword that does meteors well of an elemental body. Don't, no, stop it, you. Don't do this. Don't do this to me. I have gotten into already multiple arguments with this thing. I have never. I had someone bragging Crom with sidecast. Stop! Why is this even a thing? You know how many times I have gotten into an argument because of this armor for EK? I don't think you guys understand how many times I have gone into an argument with this armor with EK. Like I don't think you generally understand how many times I have gone into an argument with this armor because of EK itself. Like I have fought already with like 12 people about this armor because they were using it inside our EK set, and I asked them why, and they just responded, "Maybe I want a Thunder Prag, maybe I want a Meteor or something," and I just stared at them and wondered, like, brother? Question mark? I'm sorry. It just no, stop it. Just let the mages use it, man. There's a reason why this alpha is expensive. This is a Saint Guardian helmet. I'm gonna be honest with you. This is more of a like a symbol to all the 1% increased speed things. Don't get the 1% increased speed on anything. I'm sorry. I know a lot of people are like, oh my god, a 1% extra speed. No, stop it. Not good. That's like a Bustle Dragon armor. That's the Saint Guardian helmet. That's northern refined northern light armor. That's the Imperial boots have it too. I have not a clue why they have a difference from Ladeka and Iwaka's speed of movement. I wish they honestly just honestly just flat out just say 10% on every single movement speed ding. I'm sorry, it's stupid. If anything, the only one that's special, it's the special elemental ones that could be 15%. I don't know why they're trying to fool people with it. I don't know why they're trying to make people confused about it. I wish they honestly just either like just reworked it or just completely just remove it, honestly. I hate the fact that it even exists. Attack speed. Okay, so let me talk about attack speed for a little while. Attack speed is nice. Attack speed is great for final hit. Attack speed is great for final strike. Attack speed is really cool. It's really great. Don't get me wrong. It's really nice, especially when you're Brio and stuff. But please, I beg of you, if you're gonna get attack speed and you want to get into EK and all that stuff, and if you want to do a final hit build, then it's perfectly fine. It's honestly really good. It's okay. But please, I beg of you, if you're gonna complain to people that they're not having attack speed on their set makes them worse at the game, no, that's rude. They don't need it. That's the thing. Attack speed is not needed. It's more of a quality of life thing. It's nice to have. But if you're gonna get attack speed on anything, just get it through enchants or just get it through a different body than the same Guardian armor. Believe me, you'll be fine without it. You don't need to panic over it. It's the same story with attack delay hats. You don't need to worry about it. Don't panic about it. Don't like overly like over buy purchase something that's really expensive because of it, like a Bessel horns or the Forest Ranger hat or like a pair of wings that give it to you. Don't worry about attack speed or attack delay. They're nice to have. They're nice quality of lives, but they are completely like not necessary, let alone even wanted inside the end game. Believe me, they are not. They're like kind of like the last thing that people even think about whenever they're playing EK. Believe me, the last thing you want to do is auto attack anything when you're EK. Trust me, it is not a good thing if you're auto attacking stuff as an EK player. You don't want to knock things back. You're trying to keep them there. Imperial boots. Okay, so there is an actual good argument about this. It does have assault slash like damage on it. It does have 1% movement speed. Don't get me wrong. There is a decent argument with these things, okay? Here's my counter argument. It's not good. It doesn't provide enough damage for the assault slash. There's other boot selections that will help you out far more and more profitable and a lot more helpful as well. And I'm gonna be honest with you, I dislike the fact that these things even exist in the first place because it trapped so many people when these things were first released. Because a lot of people thought that the soul slash damage will enhance their blazing assault. What if I told you right now that the blazing assault like enhancement that it has done for it is legitimately just 1% extra, and that's it? Would you believe me? Because I'm lying to you. Because it's not 1%. It's 0.5% extra damage. That's right. You guys got tricked. It's 0.5. These things are trash. I can't believe how expensive these things are. Get them out of my face. I can't believe people spent almost 300 mil on that thing. Jesus Christ. Okay. Now for the decent last purchase things. Special Imperial gloves. I'm gonna be really honest with you. These things can either go one way or another. I'm gonna be really, 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 really honest with you. These things can honestly be really overpowered when the EK update happens, or they can be really shit when the EK update happens. Right now, they're pretty decent, but that's all they are. They're decent. They do their job fine. They just deal enough damage. Okay, they do rage impact damage. You know, it's not rage impact damage itself. It's rage impact extra damage whenever you do melee damage. Okay, they're okay. When and what is in the EK update? When it's gonna happen? I'm assuming it's within the next 3 months. Right now, we're getting Generation 26 Part One this month. Next month will be either the Moonlight or I think it's the Moonlight Islands or Part Two. I want to say it's the Moonlight Islands because they like to put it inside their own thing. But yeah, it's its own it's its own thing. Isn't it Korea already? Yeah, it's already in Korea. But Korea doesn't have these gloves. They have the gloves, but they don't have the set effect that these have, which is Rage Impact increased damage, which is Rage Impact enhancement, which increases your Rage Impact damage outside whenever it comes to melee damage, but it changes Rage Impact as well. So these gloves can go either any direction as of this moment. You put this a little in the trash. Honestly, I really want to, but there is a good argument for it though. But we will see what it does. Speed boots, the 10%. Uh, they're okay. I'm not gonna say they're good. They're okay. I don't I don't really like them. I kind of want to put them next to the trash, but the extra speed, movement speed, is actually really nice. You know, it's noticeable as an EK player because the biggest issue that EK players have is, you know, gap closing. You know, you really need to gap close on your enemies. You need to be within melee distance. You have to be either def dotting on it or with an MD with it. You have to be right up against the target, right? That's the whole point of Blazing Assault. That's the whole point of Bash. That's the whole point of Charge. That's the whole point of like charging strike. You know, that's the whole point of it, right? And having any form of movement, even if it's like the smallest like movement speed, besides the 1%, nor the 1%. If it's anything like these boots, then they're fine. It's just they're just not really that helpful long run. All right, this body, it's just max damage. That's it. I know it's whatever. If you want to be more defensive, however, these two wares are actually pretty good. Especially this increased critical damage is actually really nice. I would argue this is actually more better than anything else. Is there anywhere EK update post from Korea is translated? The Taiwan server already updated it. Other players have already updated it as well. Um, Most of it is kind of more of a inside of talk and kind of hush hush kind of things than anything else. If you're being optimistic about being able to craft Solana, I might as well add an instruction rope. That's the thing. I will talk about the Solana here pretty soon. Just hang on for a moment. I'm just talking about more of the defensive. These are like last purchase things. These are like last thing. You don't even like think about. These should be like things you should really not focus on at all. These are like small, like I mean ridiculously small things to look at because EK's gear set effects and what I was talking about when it comes to min matching equipment, when I was talking about this part here, will drastically change once we talk about early in game. Because this armor will not be your best in slot armor anymore. It will start transforming into like refined armor, Sienna Blayana armor. It's gonna change. It's gonna drastically change. Just keep that in mind. But that'll be for like the second part in the future. But for right now, these are like purchases I have seen players done and think they're more important than weapons and other upgrades versus anything else they could be doing. Because these are probably the most common things I see happen to a lot of people, and they think it's well worth it. When personally, I think they should be like something that should be like kind of a last like thing they should ever look into or even consider it like these gloves. They're nice to have. Don't get me wrong. The extra damage enhancement from Rage Pack is really nice. Don't get me wrong. It's really, 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 really nice. But if it loses your smash enhancement and it loses your effects on other stuff, then it's not worth it at all. But people really do focus on that and they don't have the smash enhancement. And that's my main issue with these like other armor sets, including this sword. This sword is a huge miserable mistake. And I wish they'd done something about it. But I will talk about it here soon. I'm just giving the pros and cons about these sets and why they're outside of the trash versus the ones that they are in the trash. Like these are the ones that are 100% are completely like not worth it. So the more defensive build for EK is a special Imperial armor. It's actually pretty nice for what it is. It has a crit enhancement on it. You can't really get crit enhancement really early game or mid game or late game. So this is actually a pretty decent one to use. At what bank value would you recommend something like a flag for max damage? Um, I would argue once you get past making your Perseus sword, I think that's when you should start going into more dual bag mags. I think for now you should be fine with any dual bags. To be frank, you shouldn't really focus on dual bag maxing until like a last upgrade. Don't get me wrong, dual bag maxing can be pretty increasingly amount of damage. Like it's a decent amount of max. Like a good example, right, is these three dual bags I have. As you can see, I have over like 31 max just from that alone from having these three dual bags. But that's the thing. It's not gonna be any of the combination dual bags, by the way. Any of the combination dual bags aren't really too well when it comes to max damage. They're kind of more for conveniences than anything else. The min maxing dual bags is these three, but like I said, that you don't need to min max dual bags. They're just kind of there just to be there. They're nice to have. Don't get me wrong. Like 20 more strength is really noticeable. The extra will was nice. 31 more max. The critical damage plus 1% is really nice too. But that's all they really are. They're kind of more of a like quality of life thing. Plus, I guess at the moment they are pretty recommended to get right now because of the dual bag. I say 500k, or it's pretty good. They're really cheap. I strongly advise getting this one though. I'm gonna be really honest with you. I know it gives 24 max, but brother, if you really are focusing on max, don't get this dual bag. Just get like the Black Moon one. It gives you 20 max. No, it gives you 21 max and critical damage, which is more than the 24. Even getting like, oh, even I think this one too is actually pretty good. Yeah, this one's 22 max. It's two less. Like, don't eating this Wrath Royal Castle one does honestly just gives you more that one extra music buff. I'm gonna be really honest with you. This doll bag is kind of really expensive for no good reason. 280 mil for one music buff is kind of insane. I'm not gonna lie. I think these doll bags are kind of a trap than anything else. I think a really good doll bag, to be honest with you, is Altum. To be frank, I don't think he's inside this one though. I think having any other thing like this, even having the Colwyn having three of them, right? Since each one provides 8 max, you can have up to 24 max having three of these bad boys, and you can just get the compact one. To be, I'm not really sure why they want to do it this way. This rollback gacha is kind of, eh, it's okay. It's I don't know. I don't think it's that well. It's meh. Okay. So let's talk about the body, this other body, the absorption one. If you guys are new, since you can cast magic with your like weapon out with your two-handed sword, I strongly advise it, but it can set this off to get that 100 extra magic attack for your mana shield. And absorption's nice, and that's pretty much all it provides. Wings should be like a last purchase thing. Don't even bother to purchase them in the first thing. I think if anything, when it comes to wings, you should just buy any random enchantable wings. It will provide more max damage than any set effect wings, to be honest with you. Don't get me wrong, the set effect wings are nice, but I'm gonna be honest, just buy the cheapest enchantable wings and just buy whatever like trashy like enchants. Like I have these ones on. It legitimately has Stork Crest, which both of them are like what, like 2-3 mil at most. And it's 6 more max. That's all it does. It's just 6 max. Wings overall should be like the last thing you should purchase. It's the same thing with this Reaperware. It's nice to have, last thing to purchase. Don't even bother going into it. Same thing with the Nightbringer Shield. It's nice to have. 30% damage reduction is cool and all. Last purchase really should not be focused on at all. Same with these two. I'm sorry. They're hang on. So let me talk about the one-handed sword real fast. This bad boy. This one-handed sword actually is actually pretty decent. At Erg 50 with dual wielding with them as a human, you have about 5% less damage than a Nightbringer two-handed. at ERG 50. Here's the thing. You're going to invest into two of these swords, which is more than a two-handed sword, by the way. You're going to be costing about like 70 mats versus the original 55 mats. That's already almost double the cost. You're going to invest into two ERG 50Ss on them. And the only time that you're within the 5% damage range with a Nightbringer two-handed sword is if you're constantly Dynavolt smashing and smashing, bashing. Your windmill will be pretty weak. Your overall like piercing would be drastically weak too. So anything you want to see that is like really high protection and defense will require more debuffs than the two-handed sword. And you would drastically start falling behind whenever it comes to anything like really high protection. Glenburna, Giga Glass, and those are like the biggest two ones with a lot of protection and defense, and that's where you see the biggest damage difference from both of these two. From a Nightbringer two-handed sword from versus Nightbringer dual wielding. Nightbringer dual wielding is strong. They are legitimately essentially 5% difference from each other from a two-handed sword and a dual wielding. And they are a lot more fun. Don't get me wrong. You do get the cooldown when it comes to windmill, like normal windmill and smash and rage impact. They're really fun. They're really cool to have, but they are the cost of it is almost the triple the cost of just having just a Nightbringer. And that's my biggest issue with it. It's the same reason for maces and shields. The cost for it versus the efficiency is just too high as of this moment and just not worth the time and just not worth the effort. It is a fun build. It is ridiculously cool and it's really nice. It's just it's really expensive, okay? You should treat it as like more like a kind of like a fun set. And if you are gonna commit to it, then you should commit to it. You can't go halfway on it. Yeah, what's up, Peru? All right, and let me talk about the biggest trap there is inside a game. I'm gonna be really frank with you. I have heard so many people that said they're building a Seluna blade, and all they have done is buy the materials from Phantasm, which is like these two, which is the Lunites and then the Soulite, and that's all they have. Nothing else. They have like a bunch of these. I'm gonna be really honest with you, brother. The fact that you went out of your way to purchase all these fate fragments, Lunites, and Soulites, but you don't have a Dusk Blade or a Dawn Blade, you know, the two more important things. I'm gonna be honest with you, brother. You should not really invest into the Selena Blade from the Nightbringer 2 and its sword, right? Are completely like so like it's really it's small. It's about like a 4 to 5% extra damage from each other. Don't get me wrong, the extra max from this is really great. But the thing is, you're missing a piercing level, and you have to make up that piercing level. And that's the biggest difference. The fact that it's missing a piercing level is what you need to make the big difference for. What is the best set for warrior or mage? What do you mean the best set for warrior or mage? I mean for your character? I think that's the biggest issue with the sword is that it's just missing that one piercing. And the fact the only thing they done to it is that they gave it more max and fixed its windmill to be the final windmill instead of like the additive windmill. And that's all they really done to it. Really irks me. It really does. I don't like the fact they all they did to a lot of weapons when they did the update was give it more max and just said it was okay. That really bugs me. I hate that. This weapon was seen as like being on the top. It was seen as being like this min maxy thing. And now it's treated as something as a joke. Because that's all it is now. It is a beautiful sword. It is fantastic to look at. It has special things on attached to it. And it's really cool looking. But it just fucking fails at what it does. Versus another sword that does its job but better. And that's a real bummer about this sword. And it is the biggest trap. It is the biggest annoyance I have seen from so many people trying to look for it. And I have seen way too many people fall for it and try to invest into it just to fail. It is the biggest trap I have here. And it's just ultimately just not worth it at all. It's just not worth the time. It's just not worth the effort. And it's just not even worth like just collecting it in the first place because it's just not worth it, you know? And I think that's the biggest issue with it. They tried to buff it by giving it more max, and that's it, and fix the windmill on it, and that's all. And that sucks. I wish they didn't did that at all. If anything, I wish they honestly like actually properly gave it like proper like sound effects and stuff. But that'd be like a whole argument for a different thing. And that's why I have it in here as being one of the last things you should ever purchase. It's the same story with these three right here. They're nice to have. They're really cool to have, and they're really nice to have inside their own sections. But they're just not worth the effort. They're just not worth the investment as they just cost too much. There's just too much involvement. And they're just kind of more of a situational thing than anything else. And I think that's kind of the biggest issue of all these like weapons and gears is that they're just really situational and just not really helpful at all for your like adventure. Like they're nice to have, but there's really no reason for it. You already have a two-handed sword, and your next goal after all of this is Nightbringer weapon or like armor, and that's it. Honestly, to be honest with you, with this armor set and the Percy sword, and as a giant with just using cooking pot, you can honestly casually just do tech hard mode pretty casually, and you can honestly handle Crom 100% as well, pretty casually as well. And I know that sounds insane, but that's pretty much all you really need to worry about. EK is really strong. It can be really strong. It's just it goes against a lot of people. It's one of the only arcanas that really punishes the player if you're not in the right race or in the right subject or in the right spot. It really can punish you. It's really harsh whenever you get punished. And there's just so many cons inside of it that it kind of falls drastically. But honestly, just don't let that kind of stuff stop you. Just know that if you ever do get punished, you're gonna get punished hard. All right. Just know that a lot of your stuff will be expensive. Just know a lot of your investments will be long and tedious and really will take a long time to get into. Believe me, this guide, like I mentioned before, took me almost like 4 months to make. And I need to still constantly update it because me seeing the EK update and as well with all the new weapons coming out and new armors, this guide has been in making for almost 4 months, and I constantly need to update it. I need to constantly change the rotation. I need to constantly do a lot of stuff for this. EK was probably the most in-depth guide I have right now. Next to that is Dark Diviner and a Chemical Singer, and then afterwards Harmonic Sam. But the only reason why I wanted to show off EK a little bit later than the other two is because EK sounds like a miserable hill to walk up to because a lot of it is going against you. And I mean a lot of it is going to. I'm talking about range. You need to close distance. You have to close gaps. A lot of your damage is from pre-buffing. This is like BFO. This is bone chip. This is power pots. This is catering. This is legitimately a lot of pre-buffs and making, right? It's expensive. It's really expensive. Like I mean, it's absurdly expensive. And then your protection isn't as high or even like more protection or helpful. You don't have a lot of healing resources. If anything, you're pretty much the only Arcana that can't really heal themselves significantly. You actually have one of the more disadvantages when it comes to healing. And you just can't stay in one spot for too long. And that's why I personally think this Dauntless Defense is kind of more of a trap for humans and elves. It's perfectly fine for giants because they can actually defend it and stick to that one spot and can really take advantage of it. But just know EK is really fun. It really is. It's just a really, really hard hill to go over. It's probably one of the more punishing ones, but it honestly is probably one of the most funnest ones and the most rewarding ones out of all Dark. You can just feel your damage being every single time you get an up. Just even having the lowest upgrade from this to this and having this armor on, you can just feel your Thunderbolt Smash hitting much harder because of enhancement. You can just feel the Celtic two-handed damage just coming in, and then just getting that extra enchant with from Korib or from upgrading to Perseus or getting even the cooking lid. And that's what really makes EK feel so wonderful. You can just feel the change. You can just feel the difference. You can feel and adapt. You can change your game style. You can change how your rotation is at any time. It EK is like the most fun because it's the most versatile of your own gameplay. And that's the best part about EK. And that's why I just put it here as a con than anything else. Because some people could get really overwhelmed of how many choices you can have as EK. Because it is a lot of choices. We're talking about one-handed sword with a shield, dual wielding, one-handed axe with a shield, dual blunts, one-handed blunts with a shield, two-handed sword with a shield, an axe, two-handed axes. Oh man, there's legitimately almost like 10 different options that you can just change constantly. And it just changes so much of what you're gonna do. And just depending on your race as well could drastically change how to play EK. Like elves don't even need to use any of the EK skills. They can just use Blazing Assault just to move around and just start shooting again. That's all they need to do. They take advantage of the 5% crit damage. Humans can take advantage of their final hit to close the distance. They don't need to use Blazing Sword or Bash. They can just close the distance using final hit. It's the same thing with giants, where they can just charge at any time because they don't need charge accessories. They can just charge. They don't need a shield. That's the cool thing about giants. And that's why this guide has been in the making for almost 4 months by itself because it was probably the most hardest decision for me personally because it just kept going back and forth of what the gear is gonna look like. Because I'm gonna be honest with you, I think the gear's fine. I think anyone's gear in EK is perfectly fine. You don't need to min max it or mismatch it or min max the matching of it. I think this is perfectly fine. Just know a lot of people just don't like EK players because they think they're weak, they think they're pathetic, they don't do what other Arcanas do, right? Because EK just has just too many cons, right? They play for themselves, they don't have any utilities, they don't help out with teammates that much, they don't really do like enough damage and all that, right? They do all that, right? That's a lot of negatives, but the plus side, right? Here's the biggest plus side of an EK having inside your team, right? You can put Tenacious Taunt on them and just run away. That's all. No, I'm joking with you. You can tell people are having fun with EK. Don't do that, by the way. Don't put Tenacious Taunt on your EK friend. They'll be upset with you, brother. Way they don't want to play with you anymore if you do that to them. But if you're gonna do it to anyone, just do it to a giant. Oh man. All right. So, any other questions about EK? Any other concerns or any other like detailed things you guys want to know? I think I went in pretty in depth about these last purchases pretty well. Did I miss the armor portion? The armor portion is that when you start the game, you get the blinding gear, you get your blossoming, and if you're a human, you can dual wield with the fluted short sword that they give you. As a giant, you'll be using the Veil's shield. As an elf, you're pretty much doomed. You just honestly just use the crossbow blinded crossbow, to be honest with you. Don't even bother using any of the EK skills. Once you do generation 1, you get this Crux armor. This Crux armor is pretty overpowered. It gives you enhanced smash effect. It gives you enhanced durability loss. It's really strong, very overpowered. Your first upgrade is going to be the Celtic two-handed sword. You don't even need to buy this. You can get it for free from the Chronicles. As a giant, you can just use the Veil Shield with the Chronicle two-handed sword. You basically invest absolutely nothing still. This is zero. This is free, still free. This is 100% free. All this right now, it's 100% free. Now, the minimum on the next gear setup, right? This is going to be your next big purchase, which can be up to 30 mil for Korib. Korib can be stuck on the Celtic two-handed sword that you can get for free. You can break it as much as you like if you really want to. Just save Korib. Don't care about the Celtic two-handed sword. If your Celtic two-handed sword doesn't get the Korib on it, just brick it, destroy it, get a new one. That's it. Don't put enchant protections on it, brother. You don't need to. You don't need to enchant protect the free Celtic two-handed sword you get. Just brick it. You know? That's all you gotta do. Chronicles is super friendly, and I strongly recommend people to take advantage of it because it is just really nice just to do like any of the Celtic artifacts, right? And get any of the free weapons, right? And then you can just destroy it and just get a new one. You can enchant them, you can upgrade them, you can reforge them. Just brick it. If it breaks, just destroy it and just get a new one. Don't waste your enchant protections. Don't do it, brother. Just brick it. If you want to keep saving up from 30 mil to 80 mil, you can buy a purchase two-handed and then save the 30 mil once again for Korib. Both of these swords will always be better than the Divine Blade. Don't get me wrong, Divine Blade is really fancy looking, but it's just super outdated. And it's just too expensive. I'm sorry. It's just not worth it anymore. There's probably so many Divine Blades in the game because so many people have created them. I bet you if I look inside here right now, there's going to be at least one of them. Oh, yeah. No, wait, no. Oh, what is this? I don't see any of them at all. You think people gave up on selling them? Oh, no, they're there. Yeah, I know. I'm sorry. I don't know. Why would you spend 37 mil on it? Why would you spend 80 mil on it, right? At most, you get, like, at most, right? Only 4 piercing, right? And here's the thing, right? This has 3 piercing default of its upgrade. Plus, you can get Korib on it, and it can have 4 piercing as a Divine Blade. It also has Final Hit, Final Strike, and Windmill on it. So you can take advantage of shattering, ice shattering windmill. You can take advantage of your final hits. You don't need to stick like random signets on it, like this guy tried to do. Look at that signets on it. A final hit 4%, final strike 4% as well. And all it has is just smash and durability loss. You know what else gives smash that's super cheap and super affordable, and anyone can get it at any time? You know what else is really easy to just get? I don't know, man. It's just I don't know, man. Oh, you can get this for like 500K. Look at that. It's Smash 4. What the heck? That's easy. Or you can just do Generation 1 or just look in your bank and just get the free armor that they give you. I don't know, bro. It's like Smash enhancement is so easy to get. Why the heck would I spend over 300 mil on a blade that gives Smash enhancement when armor provides it to me for free? It just doesn't make any sense. There's kind of no point of the Divine Blade. The Thumbs as well. Yeah, Thumbs is just cheap and easy to get. It's the same story with, the Frosted Borealis. They're just too expensive for what they're worth. You know? Celtic two-handed sword is free. You can get it for free. You can get it with Corbin chant. It would have exactly it would have exactly a 3 piercing just like that. The fact that this sword alone, by the way, gives 2 piercing by itself and has the same amount of max as a divine blade just makes it so much better for multiple reasons. I don't think you understand how much the Celtic two-handed sword completely just threw away your divine blade. Like completely. It's free. It has 2 piercing on it for free, and you can get it at any time of your gameplay. It's just that good. And then Perseus sword can get up to 3 piercing by itself, right? Now I know all of you are going to be like, but doggy, my divine blade can have 1 piercing on it without any enchants, and Solitude gives 3 piercing, so it has 4 piercing. Yeah, you know what else can get 4 piercing with just 1 enchant, and you don't need to rely on its roll? Korib. Korib gives 1 piercing, and it gives a lot of strength. You can stick it to your Perseus sword, and it has more max than your divine blade, and it gives more strength, and it provides even artisan roll, which gives more strength. You know what the Celtic one will have? It will have 3 piercing with it and has more strength, and its artisan is actually exactly the same as the divine blade. And they have both the same max. All you have extra is just 1 piercing versus this one for free. It just makes no sense of why to make a divine blade. The Celtic sword is just free. You can get core for 20 mil, 30 mil at most, and it's a pretty uncommon drop from the Chronicles. You can even do Lord missions for it. It's actually rare from Lord missions, but Chronicle has it as an uncommon drop. It's actually pretty well deserved. Perseus just beats it outright, 100%. It has more max. You can stick 67 floor on it. You can stick a meteor on it, and it would be better overall. Even with the 1 piercing. So, Divine Blade, trash. Frosted Borealis and the Silencer. There's actually a good argument with the Silencer, by the way, because the Silencer Kakashi Blade does give a lot of max over the Frosted Borealis. It's actually not that bad, but whatever. They're still pretty bad though. But yeah, it's really the biggest gear upgrades you can do, especially for a giant. You can get the cooking pot with max attack on it and magic attack on it. Those are pretty cheap, to be honest with you, with any of that stuff. If you just go to other equipments, right? Then you go to its life skills. Out of here. Yeah, there they are. Like getting a cooking pot with already rank 1 on it. It'd be mostly with these things. There you go. There's one with magic tab, 56 of it. Just right there. Doo -doo -doo. There's a max attack one right there, 16. That's 32 more max, just like that. Or 20 mil. That's really cheap. 20 mil for 32 more max. You know how much you know how crazy that is? It's legitimately a prefix and a suffix enchant, by the way. Just like that. For 20 mil. And you can enchant the cooking pot with matting. Pretty crazy, right? Oh, whoa. That's cool, actually. 24. It's a shame it's on a normal cooking pot instead of like. Because this 24 is basically 1 less than the set effect, because the set effect is actually plus 10. This one has both of them, magic attack and max attack. Pretty cool. But yeah, cooking knife gives an additional plus 10 on top of it, basically. What the green bunny? Why are you throwing stuff at me? Yeah! Stop it! No! Ah! Stop. But yeah, seriously, in December I made a D-blade. It cost me 140 mil to craft it and min rolled. Sold it and made a demo staff instead. Yeah, the D-blade is just more of a trap now than anything else. Because you can blacksmith a Celtic two-handed sword and you can blacksmith a Perseus sword. And both of them can get higher max than the D-blade. The Celtic two-handed sword actually could get one extra hot, one more max than the D-blade, but you would need to like min-max all your blacksmithing stuff. That's legitimately the biggest difference from each other. But yeah, D-blade is just not worth it. It's just too expensive, too inefficient. Either save up for a Korab with the Celtic two-handed, or just buy the Perseus for like 80 mil. It's really cheap. Like if you, oops, sorry about that. What's up, Green? But like it takes 15 functional Gyata pieces, right? And functional Gyata pieces are legitimately almost 4.3 mil. You know, look at that. They're 4.5. You only need 15 of them. And you know what that is? Check this out. Oop, 15 times, let's just say 5 mil each. It's 75 mil. That means the average is around like 70 mil. I don't know why anyone would ever want to like invest into a D blade, right? It just doesn't make any sense. The D blade just requires too much RNG, requires too much time. It requires too much investment. It's just not worth it. Kukin Pa is really great for giants at this point of the game too, so keep that in mind. And this armor that you get for free from doing Generation 1, you can just enchant it, and if you break it, you can just destroy it and then just get a new one. Basically, this entire set, you don't even need enchant protections until you get the Perseus two-handed sword. That's legitimately the only time you ever get enchant protections. It's because of the two-handed sword. Everything else, you can destroy it and just regain a new one for free. Have fun with that knowledge. Just do Generation 1, get this armor for free, do Chronicles, get the sword for free, and you can break them as much as you like. Have fun with that knowledge. But yeah, that's pretty much everything about early to mid game to late game like EK for now. Its rotation is pretty easy early in. Keep in mind this rotation is before Link 9 and before ERG 50 is introduced. This is like the most simplistic like form of rotation. I would tell you right now, later on, that the rotation will start to change drastically once we get into Link 9 and ERG 50, because you're going to start weaving in things, which is basically Smash and Bash and Rage and Pack, which are going to be like completely weaving inside of it. And hey, welcome everybody. Welcome Raiders. Oh, Space Captain, what's up, brother? What you up to? Got any Ks for our alt armies? For giants, is dual wield hammer and maces viable? I was just talking about that just a bit. So my counter argument about these two, oops, flashbang. Sorry for the bright light there. I'm pretty sure no one wanted to see that. So for EK, when it comes to dual wields, right? Hey guys, welcome. I'm just teaching like what's early game to mid game to late game for EK right now. When it comes to dual wielding for giants and for human and elves, elves can't dual wield. Sorry, elves can't dual wield it. For human dual wielding and giant dual wielding, right? Because they're both different. Keep in mind that. There we go. Oops, I want to off. There we go. Keep in mind that Erg is completely different from each other. Erg's for one-handed swords also gained this smash damage on it, and this smash damage is actually what makes it viable for dual wielding humans. They're actually 5% less damage than two-handed sword. Like, compare a human with dual wielding Nightbringer swords at ERG 50S versus a giant with a two-handed sword with ERG 50S. It's a 5% damage difference. However, one-handed blunts only gain the stun resistant rate. They also gain the close combat of 25%. It goes up to 50% when they're dual wielding, right? So they can smash more often, they can windmill more often. But that's the thing. You're relying on normal damage, normal windmill, normal smash. You're not relying on, the smash damage percentage of 60%. This is 120%, by the way. This also indirectly buffs dynamic smash. But they are essentially with Nightbringer, right? The Nightbringer one-handed mace, right? Right there. Versus a two-handed sword as a giant, you're about 50% less efficient. Don't get me wrong, it's a fun set. Don't get me wrong. It's a really fun set. It's fun to have, okay? It's just for humans, they can do the same thing as, the blunts, just a little bit less cooldown though, because the cooldown for swords is at 50%. It's only 30%, so they are less efficient when it comes to windmilling, but their smash is drastically so much stronger. But the blunts are just really fun to just windmill spin because you're like a blender. That's what makes it really fun. But that's really the biggest difference from each other when it comes to dual wielding from both sides, from giants, humans, and then versus two-handed swords. But yeah, if you just want to have a fun set, they're both fun. They're just not efficient, is all, because both of them are really expensive to do. Oh, what? No. Just keep that in mind. Cries an elf. It's like Docky's RK listen. What do you mean RK listen? Oh, you like Docky's RK listen. Yeah, I'm not fully against people like doing it or anything. These are last purchase items. Just know that if you're gonna commit to any of these setups, you have to fully commit to it. You can't go halfway into it. If you go halfway into it, you might as well just not do it. But yeah, that's pretty much everything we have here for teaching EK here. Let's do like a summary of what we learned today. Pretty much everything we have been learning. You guys kind of caught me like at the very like basically ending the stream. Sorry about that. But we're gonna talk about like the summary of what happened this entire like early to mid game. So let's talk about a summary of what happened here. So summary is that pros EK has the best movement. It's really jumpy, really fast, really fun. 5% crit damage to all things. This is all talents, by the way. The 5% extra damage about it. It's really nice. It's really powerful. If you guys are new, the little like Link Arcana that EK has on Link 4, this critical damage plus 5, this actually affects all things inside inside all your talents. This also includes like puppetry, ninja, so you can just use it for anything you like. It's just straight up 5% crit damage, just for fun. The biggest cons that EK has is that you guys don't have no rune weapons. There's a bunch of pre-buffing. There's just a bunch of setups. There's too many sets. There's too many weapons. There's too many choices. Personally, I don't think that's a bad thing. These like too many weapons, too many sets, too many choices. But I can see why a lot of people really hate that. So I made it as more of a con than really a pro because it can get a little overwhelming. I won't lie. The amount of choices and amount of like different things you can do for EK, just keep that in mind. It's not really of a con. It's kind of a mixed feeling. It's kind of more of a preference, but I feel like it's more of a con because a lot of people do get a little confused. Are rune whips the best? Yeah, they are, but they're exclusively only for magic and range. They're not really tanky. I know a lot of people are gonna go against me on that because oh my gosh, but you get like 5% more. You get 5 protection, brother. The fact that mages can have 90% protection because they have mana shield on and they can recover mana like crazy kind of ruins it. You're not tanky at all. Giants are the only race that can have fun with it, to be honest with you. Elf. Uh, you need constant healing from other sources or from other teammates. Healing yourself is god awful as a EK. There's like a really long list of just a bunch of cons I have. People are mean and you depend on others pretty drastically. There's just a lot of things that EKs kind of need to take care of by themselves. EK is probably the most selfish like arcana out of all the arcanas because they don't have no like utility, they don't have no like versatility for other players in the party. They are really selfish by themselves. Their utility doesn't work at all inside like later game. Don't get me wrong, a lot of people do enjoy EK and it's really fun, But just know inside party play, you don't really provide a lot like at all. When it comes to races, giants can have two-handed swords that are one-handed swords. They can use a shield with it. Axes have high max. They can full swing with them. They can use shields. They can span windmill. For humans, you guys have final hit. You can hold a two-handed sword. You can SS your own damage. That's the biggest thing. Hey, what's up, Stock? And for elves, I'm gonna be honest with you. Your biggest thing is that you're just gonna use Blazing Assault just for movement. No, you're not. You're not gonna use any EK damage. I think the only time I've ever seen like an actual EK elf is Rora, and the only reason why I say that is because he actually built like um. Hang on, let me show it to you guys because ba, 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 ba. Because Rora made two videos. He made one for human EK, right? Which is, fine and stuff. But then he made one for elves. And I'm gonna be honest with you, before he goes in and does all this stuff, I'm gonna tell you right now, if he shows off his armor, does he? Can't really see it. Oh, he has an appearance on it. Bummer. Okay, so I will tell you exactly what he's wearing, by the way. He has a Nightbringer two-handed axe. He has inferior body. He has RO boots and gloves. And then I think he's using some kind of hat. I can't recall what it was. Or maybe he was using RO boots and hat and then the Imperial gloves. But like, he needs that Nightbringer axe, by the way. He needs it. The fact that the Nightbringer axe is the only two-handed axe for elves, it's the only way that EK elf is viable. And I can just show you right now the timer that has on data has taken him almost 5 minutes and a little over of like 20 seconds just to solo data as an elf EK. And let me just say this right now, the amount of resources this guy used as an EK player, it's a real struggle. Like, I mean, it's a huge struggle. Like, oh man. But yeah, this is like the one time he actually shows off of like what EK can do and like take over. But it just requires so much work to do. And let me just say that 3.4k from the mana shield is because you just don't have any magic attack at all. Like as an elf, you just don't have it. And it sucks when you don't. But yeah, you're gonna get smacked like that like pretty constantly too, by the way. That's kind of the biggest issue with EK Elf. You kind of get smacked by everything. It's kind of the same story for humans, but humans can get a little bit more magic attack. So just keep that in mind. Your early game is going to be focusing on Blanid, Tex, like normal versions, Rebirthing, Forgetful Pots, a bunch of dungeons, Mountain missions to level up, and Renown and Red upgrades. And then your passive things you're going to be doing is leveling up your main ego up to 100. Totems are kind of okay, they're mid. Stardust is actually probably the one thing that does not help you a lot inside EK. Don't get me wrong, Max Stardust is really powerful, but it's probably one of the least things you're going to worry about inside as an EK, to be honest with you. Don't get me wrong, though. Veil will absolutely save your ass, but it is something that you should not focus on too much. Moanings is the same story with Frost Reds. They're nice to have as a passive thing. You won't see any rotation difference for the longest time until Link 9. That's when you see your rotations drastically change. But that's once we get there, okay? Your gear equipment when you start off is by Blanded by using your Blanded sword, and once you start doing Generation 1, you'll get Fluted Sword. For humans, you can dual wield this. As elves, sorry to say this, you're going to basically be sticking to this Blanded sword with a random shield. And giants can use this sword with a shield they will provide it to you. Once you're doing Generation 1, once you complete quarter of it, like legitimately 1/4 of the quest, you'll be provided the Adventurer's Crux armor, and it's going to be your best armor for pretty much the entire duration until we enter early endgame. Once you pass Generation 1, 2, and 3 in all of Hamlet, you're pretty much, in the situation where you're like around maybe Link 4, maybe Link 5, maybe Link 6. You will start doing Chronicles to get your free two-handed sword. This is going to be your first upgrade. It's for free. You have yet to spend anything. You have saved everything. You don't need to worry about any of your gold expenses. You're basically spending all your gold on links, but this is when you start focusing on saving up your gold at this point of the game. Once you get this two-handed sword, your first major upgrade would be either saving up to 20 mil or 30 mil for your Corb enchant. Click on your Celtic two-handed sword that you can completely keep breaking and destroying and just keep recovering. You don't need enchant protections. Or you can save up for 80 mil and buy a Perseus two-handed sword. You don't need to focus on your armor at all. You can honestly give it really trashy enchants that can work out, such as Sieving Champion or like Encore Champion, or even like a really easy enchant like Heroic or any of that stuff. Any enchant that gives you max is perfectly fine. You can break it if you want to. Do not enchant protect these. You can get new ones from doing generation once again. You can destroy it and just recover it. Same thing for boots and gloves. Just get camo and like wild boar, camo. Same story for the hat. Wild boar, and then you can buy the adventure like dexterity. They're all cheap enchants. They're all below 100k each. And if you really want to, because at this point of the game, right, you're gonna have like around 20 mil, 30 mil, 40 mil. You can go to the adventure shop inside the dungeon shop, go to the Fort voucher shop, go to the last page, and you can use these accessories, which give you Oblivion and Swarming, which are 14 max on both sides, which is 28 max, completely free. These bad boys cost 10 adventure seals. Sorry, I said adventure seals. 10 Fort vouchers. These will become legitimately common, and you can just do anything to them. These are probably the most friendliest things that you can get. Or if you really want to, you can get Smash, like Smash Reforge. If you really want to, those will be more worth it, but they do cost a lot more. We talked about skills, how Lightning Instill is going to be always on and always will be used. Dynavolt Smash is your best DPSer. Shattering Windmill is your second most DPS. Blazing Assault should not be treated as a DPS, but more of a gap closer than anything else. Don't treat it as a DPS. It's more of a gap closer. It's nice to have. Just treat it as a gap closer. Fire and Cell and Ice and Cell are nice, but not necessary. They do a lot more less than really more helpful than anything else. Yeah, Smash 3 Reforge on your Support Puppet is perfectly fine. Just know you can just take Wild Boar on it. The Smash Reforge is going to be more helpful in the long run. Believe me, you did fine. Dauntless Defense is more of a trap for elves and humans. For giants, it's actually really beneficial. With a shield on, you gain all that defense and protection while being inside as a giant. With a shield on, it's really noticeable, really nice. Just be careful as a human without a shield or as an elf without a shield. Your defense only gets increased by half of what your Dan is on top plus 15. And you won't get any saving things. This is going to be more of a knock, like get away, get off me kind of card than really a damage dealer. So just use this wisely. Just be careful with it. Don't just die because, you just have this on. Just remember your debuff rotations. Always fate first the enemy, then fate yourself. Briouette as a human and Briouette as a giant with Windguard on, final hit it. As an elf, just ask someone else to do it. Deathmark afterwards. Fantastic core so they don't move out of your, dealing damage, because stuff will try to move out. They will try to move away from you. There's a lot of stuff that move, and they will move away from you. Charging Strike, Uppercut is more important than Smoke Bomb. Smoke Bomb when there's large groups. You can have both of them on the same time, though. Just know that Smoke Bomb is more for groups. Charging Strike and Uppercut is more of a gap closer and a nice debuffer. Your glyphs that you're going to be using to buff yourself is going to be Smash, Bash, and Windmill. Or if you like, you can do Smash, Bash, and Deathmark to enhance your Deathmark more. Both of them are very viable, very nice. Cats replace bones, but you can totally use Bone and Mirror. Cat's Circle will not be as helpful as other Arcanas or talents, because you are going to be moving out of it pretty drastically, pretty commonly, if you're going to be gap closing a lot. Will and Foxy Quinn are really nice. Just keep in mind your will not back stuff. So just keep that in mind. Once something gets knocked back, you will need to gap close it. All right. So your basic rotation, this is before Link 9 and Eric 50, will be gap closing with Blazing Assault. But if you don't need to Blazing Assault and you're within 7 meters, just bash it instead. Bash has a 7-meter gap closer now. It's really great. Raging Pack afterwards. Support shot as a human or an elf. Giants cannot do this. Once you Raging Pack, go into Dynavolt Smash. Bash once again to increase your timer and increase your damage output. Up to 4% now. Shadow and Windmill. Bash once again, you're now up to 6%. Use your Smash. Remember, Smash animation is now shorter because of Renovation 4. Bash again, you're now up to 8% of extra damage. Raging Pack is now off cooldown, and Support Shot will be back for humans, but not for elves. Keep that in mind. Elves won't have their Support Shot yet. Their Support Shot is double the cooldown of a human. So, Raging Pack, Support Shot as a human, and then Dynavolt Smash once again, and then Bash. You are now finally at 10% extra damage and Windmill, and then you can rotate it once again and keep up this 10% all the time. The only time you're going to be gap closing is with Blazing Assault or with Charging Strike Uppercut. Keep that in mind. You will have a lot of gap closers. There's other options of gap closing. There's Blazing Assault, which is a more common one. There's Charging Strike, which requires a switch. Or, as a giant, you can simply just use Wind Guard and just charge or charge at any time. Humans and elves will need a shield or a reforge to charge without shieldless charge. Please, whatever you do, don't use evasion to dodge out stuff. I beg of you. The only thing that evasion is good for is to update your character. It's only really nice for giants because giants can get displaced pretty commonly. But that's really the only time I ever see evasion be utilized. If you're going to use it for style points, use it for style points. But if you die to, like, Ursin's Circle or Ursin's Beam, then negative 500 points, brother. Defense is pretty good, especially with shields. Don't like underestimate defense, just normal defense itself. It's really nice. It's actually really good to have. Just tap on it. With the changes they done with shields, where they have percentage reduction, it's actually really nice to have now. And Wind Guard, just keep in mind as a giant, you can't use any of your EK skills, but you can spam other close combat skills such as charge. So keep that in mind. You can take advantage of it. And just remember, these are the last purchase things. Don't even bother thinking about them. Don't even like try to be like, maybe if I had. No, just don't purchase these as of this moment. These things, everything inside the bucket are complete traps. I don't know why you ever want Elemental Body to cast Meteor with. I don't know why you want 1% extra speed when other stuff provide better speeds. There's kind of no point of attack speed. It's nice to have, but really unnecessary. You don't want to push back things. Same story with attack delay. Nice to have, no reason to have. You don't want to push back things. Assault slash damage is only a 0.5% increased damage to blazing assault slash. Don't invest into these. It's a really small upgrade. It's really not worth your while, especially how expensive these boots are. Same thing with movement speed. Movement speed is nice. Same thing with the ultimate ego effect for two-handed sword. It's nice to have, but just really not necessarily needed. Max damage is always nice, but not necessarily needed. Raging Pack gloves can go both ways. It can be drastically really overpowered or it can be drastically overwhelming. It can happen because other people can Raging Pack and replace your Raging Pack. Keep that in mind. If you want to be more defensive, Imperial is really nice. It gives that critical damage, which is 2% more damage. Just be careful with its Unshakable Will because you can die if you don't get any knockback. Absorption is really nice. His magic attack increased by 100%. By 100 is really nice. Mana recovery is really nice from this too. And it can be set off by just simply just spamming Ice Ball. Really nice. Really convenient. Wings should be a last purchase thing. Same thing with Reaper Wear. Just more damage. It's okay. Decide what kind of like distance you want to do. Like if you want to get into dual wielding two-handed swords as a human or dual wielding blunts, have fun what you have with EK. EK is really special in its own way where you can have fun with it. You can use any talent. just know you will be dealing 15% less damage overall with maces, and you'll be 5% inside dual wielding as two-handed sword. You also got to keep in mind that both of these weapons are really expensive in the long run, especially for Erg. Shields are nice, don't get me wrong. A Perseus shield is probably the most like minimal recommended. If anything, if you really want a shield, Perseus shield or even a divine shield that's cheap are really worth it. Don't even bother going out of your way for the Nightbringer shield. It's just nice to have. They're not gonna be useful. And then the Saluna, I'm gonna be honest with you, just keep it as a drink. It's legitimately only 5% more better than the Nightbringer 2. And that's if the thing doesn't have a lot of protection and like Glen Burna hard mode and Giga Glass. Is it worth it to have dual swords in your Ox slot to build up Bash faster? I actually did wanted to talk about that a little bit because of Bash reasons. And arguably no, because you'll be losing too much damage from the two-handed sword. It would be better just to simply just do it as a normal way, because sure you could get up to 4% and then 8% and then 10% here for your next smash. But honestly, the 8% that happens here for your next Thunderbolt smash is perfectly fine. Don't get me wrong, it's kind of more of a min-max kind of thing, but you'll be losing too much damage if you do swap to them. That's what I mean about like 5% more when it comes to the dual wielding swords right here. Because you are if you have both the Nightbringer Tandem Sword and the Nightbringer like dual wields, then it's perfectly viable. It is 100% viable to do that. But if you're just using like Nightbringer Tandem Sword and then CRKs, you're losing too much damage. And that's the thing. If you have like a Perseus two-handed sword and you're using Perseus dual wielding swords, then that's perfectly fine. That's honestly fair. That would work perfectly fine. It's min maxing your like bash. That's perfectly fine. But just keep in mind that if you're gonna use like CRKs or anything like a grade below what your weapon is, then it's not worth it. And that's a thing though as well. You're going to be losing a lot of piercing. You're going to be losing a lot of damage whenever you do your bash. So realistically, even the Perseus with Perseus two, like 100 swords altogether, it just won't. It just you would just be losing too much damage because the Perseus 100 swords don't have piercing on them, and that's the biggest issue of that. All right, so while that's on the way, it's that time, guys. Who are we gonna win? Who are we gonna get to? There's Rory now. Learning. I don't want to give you guys an ad. That's the main issue. It's 17 and 20. We're gonna go there. Let's not get you guys ads. I don't want you guys to get ads. I'm sorry. Run away. Get out of here. I'll see you guys tomorrow. I'm gonna be putting up a little listing. We're gonna be talking about Harmonic Saint. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Yeah. Woo. Harmonic Saint. Yeah. See you guys later. No ads. Bye. What did I miss? This guy.